So let's invite for this Mr. Kathir Kamanathan, sir, founder of Chella Software. So let's introduce him brief about this person's founder and CEO, Chella Software Private Limited, a securities and risk management solutions firm. The firm provides securities clearing and margining solution to major financial institutions, including stock exchanges, clearing corporations, and central banks. Prior to becoming an entrepreneur, worked with Philips India and the Unilever Group. Education's Bachelor of Engineering, REC Trichy, Electronics and Communication Engineering, 1980 to 1985. Post-graduation Diploma in Management, Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, 1987 to 1989. Honors and Awards, Chairman of Madurai Zone for the Confederations of Indian Industries, 2013 to 2014, and awarded by the Entrepreneur of the Year Award by the Confederations of Indian Industry in December 2014. Distinguished Alumni Award by the National Institution of Technologies, Tiruchirappalli in 2016. Currently member of the Regional Governing Council of the Export Promotions Council of Exports Oriented Units and Special Economic Zones, and currently reaches interested margining efficiency for derivations clearing firms, none other than Mr. Kathir Kamanathan, sir, from Chella Software. So let's invite big round of applause to them.
So thank you very much. So how do you go from quantum computing to governance and then to compliance? I think that's a very tough transition. So I will try to do my best. It's a topic of relevance for a number of small firms, and we went through that, and therefore I can completely relate to this topic. I think it was a lot more important a few years ago, but now I think people are coming up with the age of compliance. You know what KYC is. You've done that a million times. You know why the compliance is an issue. People know about AML. So little bit, I think people know why it is so important to run a company. So this will be from the perspective of an entrepreneur running a small firm. There are several areas that I can say are sort of blockers for young entrepreneurs just starting off. One is, a couple of decades ago, the general outlook of the population would be, why do we pay taxes, right? Anyway, the government is going to not spend it wisely. It is going to go into corruption. It's going go into this and that. So why should we even bother paying taxes? So a lot of companies would not have proper books of accounts. They would think that paying taxes is a burden, is an unnecessary expense, and therefore, if you can avoid it, let's avoid it. That would be the general mood of the nation, mood of the small entrepreneurs, by and large. And I can say that even we were not exempt from that. Skepticism about paying taxes. But then the situation has turned around a lot, right? Now, a lot of people look at paying taxes, keeping proper books of accounts, not only as something that you add to nation building, it's your contribution to the country. It's also that without that you basically go to jail, right? Now the compliances are so stiff, and people can triangulate, and they can quickly arrive at your income and expense. It's basically not an option anymore. That's number one. Number two, when people had the option of not having books of accounts, right? Small companies particularly, right? There's no incentive to go sign up with an auditor, get the PAN number, get into the system. It's not only for PAN, I think it's also for GST, for PF, for whatever compliance may be there for a company, right? the initial thought is, why get into this hassle? How do we even handle these guys? They'll keep coming every 6 months asking for this and that. So should we really get into it? Can we just stay under the radar? That used to be the general thought process. So I've seen a generation of companies that took this approach and could not grow at all. I think that was a fairly limiting factor for them in their ability to grow. There used to be a time when Microsoft would come to your offices asking if you had licenses for the Windows machines that you're using. And you would have SQL Server running, you would have this running, that running, and you may not have licenses. They would have architects, architects complain that, they use CAD and they use Adobe and so on. They may not have licenses, right? Similarly, most IT companies would not have licenses. Now, was it a smart thing to do without licenses when you're very small, when you're one man, two man? Maybe it's okay. You always had the option to, download a pirated version, use it for a while and so on. But very soon you'll find that becomes a limiting factor in your growth. And if you do not get out of that mindset, you would not be able to grow at all. You always have to be under the radar wherever you are. There was a time when there used to be a lot of these events and people would be, sort of hesitant to participate in these events because they were not paying license. They didn't want to be known. They don't want to be known. They didn't want visits from any of these companies. So partly, they were giving up their growth opportunities just for the sake of these licenses. So I think that period is sort of crossed, partly because there's a lot of open source available. You can run pretty much most of your operations on open source. You can develop pretty much most of it on open source. So if you did have licensed software, I think there still could be incentive for not having licensed version, but don't do it. If you do it, you will find that you're sort of stuck in an area that you're not able to develop. I'm talking from the perspective of smaller companies, right? It's very common, and therefore something that maybe you can relate to even today. So it's better to 3 compliances you need to get straight. I think one is tax. Don't think that paying tax is a waste. Don't think that it's an expenditure. It's a necessary cash flow. So when you earn something, set aside something for tax, and that gives you recognition, that gives you peace of mind, that gives you ability to grow. The upside of paying taxes is a lot more than the downside of not being able to grow and of having to pay or shell out the cash. So one of the first things that you'd probably do is regularize your books, keep a proper chartered accountant, and get into the habit of paying tax and being happy when you pay tax. Now, when you pay tax, you're contributing. Just change your mindset to just feel good when you pay taxes. It can be income tax, it can be GST, it can be whatever else. But get into that sort of mindset. I think that's a very healthy mindset to have, one that will help you grow. So tax is one. Second is employee compliances. Employee compliances, particularly PF, ESI, the other compliances that you have. Wherever you need to comply, you have to do it, even when you're small. So if you're very small, there are exemptions, right? If you're less than 20 people and all that, there are exemptions. Then by law, you need not get into any of these. But once you cross that limit, do not delay. Get into it as quickly as you can, because once you formalize, once you get into that kind of a mode, you will find that employees trust you better. You get better people coming to you, asking for jobs. You'll be able to employ far better quality people. So also again, peace of mind, and you avoid going to jail. So these are strong enough incentives. So get into this habit of complying with the PF related ones. The third is the licenses. If you have any license issue, if you need to buy any licenses, do a deal. I think many of the companies have developer licenses. They'll give you some credits. They'll give you this, that. You don't have to buy. If you're a developer, you don't have to buy all of this. Mostly they will understand your situation and they'll allow you to lawfully use their licenses. So explore those opportunities and get into the arrangements like that. Do not be under the radar. Do not do anything that where you are afraid to be out in the public just because you're using pirated copies. These three are critical for IT companies. I think these three compliances. There are lots of other compliances, safety, cyber security, and so on, that I'm sure you'll be doing in any case. So these three I just wanted to focus on as part of compliance. And governance is not just compliance, right? There's a lot more than governance. Ethics is another area where you might want to give it some thought. So corporate ethics, your ethics in business, ethics in marketing, these are things that will take time for people to recognize, but when they do recognize, it will be a very, very big asset. It goes a long way into building a brand. It's very easy to take some shortcuts, make some quick business, quick deals, but it will give you immediate cash flow, but you will have to sacrifice on the long term. And therefore, if you're planning to stay for the long term, all of you must be planning to stay for the long term. Look at yourselves what you will do 15 years from now, 20 years from now, and therefore take the straight and narrow path, and be ethical in whatever you do. I think we need to set standards. There are lots of industries that do not have this luxury of being ethical. I mean, they just cannot survive if they can't cut corners. Construction industry is one, right? Very difficult. I'm sure you can, but then it's very difficult. But we have this blessing that we are an industry where pretty much we can do things without a lot of ethical compromise, and therefore I think you should stick to that path and set standards for the rest of the industry to follow and for the rest of the country to follow. I think it's a worthwhile effort from our side. You sacrifice the short term for the long term, and it's excellent for your branding. You will find it's very difficult to say how it works. But over a period of time, you will find that after 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, suddenly you will find that a goodwill wherever you go begins to be higher. We've seen that in our own case, right? We are unknown, but we stay the course. We do whatever comes to us. We do it well. We don't cut corners. Then you find slowly after 10 years, after 15 years, suddenly people know you. There's word of mouth. You get welcomed in many places where you were not even able to enter. So this just happens on its own. It takes time. But I think it's a good path for many of you to take, and keep that in mind. The other aspects of governance, actually I will just touch upon 2-3 topics and then leave it open to the floor, make it a little interactive, because many of you may have real practical problems, right, in running your companies. Probably you have practical questions as to dilemmas as to how to handle something. That's something that we can discuss openly, and that is something I think as an industry we need to understand too. There's an issue of culture, the kind of culture that you want to promote within the organization. Again, it's a question of short term versus long term. There is a trade-off between being predictable and stable and optimizing on resources. Okay, there is a trade-off. If you want to be predictable, let's say you've taken a wrong decision. Okay, you've taken a wrong turn, or I'm not talking of a major decision. I'm talking of something. Let's say you made a wrong hire. Let's say you did something wrong, right? Or you had a policy that you're trying out. It doesn't seem to work well. Give it time. Don't keep changing. Don't keep quickly changing things. You have to evolve. You can't be stable, but evolve in a stable manner. I think that is very important. Gives a lot of comfort to people dealing with you, your employees, your customers, and others. There is a trade-off, therefore, between being stable and predictable and optimizing. And if you have to, use your discretion and do it with a great deal of judgment. And if you provide that kind of predictability, stably evolving nature of an organization, that gives a lot of comfort to people. It's a culture of how you run your organization and so on. So it's something that you may want to keep in mind. These are some of the key things I wanted to touch upon. I'll just open it to the floor. And if you have any questions, any particular dilemmas that you're facing in running your organization today, any practical issues that you're facing, I think you can bring it up and we'll discuss it.
Sir, you spoke well about being honest in business, being fair, okay. But if you take the case of startups, 90 out of 100, the startups will fail. The success rate is just 10%. So if an entrepreneur faces a choice where failing honestly or succeeding dishonestly, what he should take?
Valid question, very difficult question actually. If you put yourself in that shoes, actually very difficult to answer this. But I would say that honesty and dishonesty is also something. It's a muscle memory. So you get used to one way, you always keep repeating that again and again. And therefore, it is good to stay the difficult path. If you fail because you want to stay that course, then maybe that business is not worthwhile. Because it's also a habit forming. You do it once, you keep doing it every time. Every time you tend to do that, tend to take shortcuts, and you sort of develop an image, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, others will know it. It's only a question of time. Others will get to know it. And then the brand that you want to build, you will no more be able to build. And that affects your standing in society, it affects your employees, it affects future employment, the kind of people that you can attract, it affects your customers. The customers will get to know after some time. Irrespective of however secretive you keep it, confidential you keep it, word will spread around. That is something that you can never avoid, it will diffuse. So it's also habit forming, and therefore I think it's a good thing to just stick to the straight and narrow path. It's a difficult question. I can fully appreciate where you're coming from. Listen, somebody has left their jobs, they've got into business, they're running this, facing hardships every day, they're facing rejections every day, and then they get an opportunity where they're able to do something, but it doesn't seem so nice deep inside, but do you still want to take it? It's a very hard call. I would say that is where character really is shown. And therefore you cross a few of these, then you are built with steel, and that will again begin to show. Just like the negative reputation shows, your positive reputation also will begin to show. Failures are okay. I think a few failures, no venture is guaranteed to succeed. So failures are okay. I think if you take that kind of a approach, I think it should be okay.
See the management styles of Indian companies. Previously, the old generation companies, they used to treat their employees as their family members. They also stayed longer. Okay, so we didn't have hire and fire policy in India. Okay, that was a time, maybe 10 years or 20 years back. Now we are adopting the American style of management where we focus on hire and fire. Okay, I think we are now, for example, in a city like Madurai, we are a blend of both. Okay, how do you see the future in it? How to treat the employees so that we can build a long-standing organization?
Yeah. When the traditional businesses where people were treated like family for staying for a long time, their aspirations were a lot lower than the aspirations of employees today. Right? Today, people really want to grow. They want to make money faster. They have aspirations that may be outside your organization. It's not limited to what it was earlier. If you looked at, let's say, Madurai used to have a lot of textile mills, right? If you looked at the textile mill workers in Madurai themselves, how many of them during their career got really rich? You will find that there are not too many, and that not that they really minded, right? They were happy with what they had, they're contented. But today, that is not the kind of profile that you get. Now, people really want to grow quickly, and you have a different set of people with completely different set of aspirations. And therefore, that cannot be done, and then therefore, you do not have a great margin of safety there. Your expenses are higher, therefore, and therefore, you need to meet your targets in order to meet even your employees' own aspirations. I think that becomes important for you to run that way. If you don't do it, then somebody else is doing it. And I think willy-nilly we have gotten to the situation where growth has become mandatory. You have to grow fast. If not for anything, at least to keep up with the aspirations of your own employees. And that is not small. It's growing every day. And I think there isn't too many options there, is my feeling.
Sir, another question, don't take it. Have many options. You could have started in Bangalore or you could have started in Chennai. Why Madurai? What made you to start here?
My parents were in Madurai. I was in Madurai. Madurai was the first choice. At that time, I did go and consult some of my friends who were in Bangalore. And at that time, they said, don't even think of coming to Bangalore. You won't get people, you won't be able to retain them. So we were a small company. At small company, I think we had better chance of survival in a city like Madurai. And I think it was a good choice. Good choice because we were surprised by the talent that we're getting. We were getting very good talent, actually. Very natively, very intelligent people we were getting. May not be great in communication, may not be great in they're not city slick as others are, but then they're pretty good, good aptitude, and they did stay with us longer than they would have in Bangalore, and therefore we had a little more stability, which is very important when you're small, right? When you're small, you're running a 5-member team, 10-member team. You don't want 3 people leaving, and that's really a tough situation to handle. I think it helped us handle that. I think, therefore, it was the right choice for us. Yeah.
Networking offline. So thanks, Kathir. It was a wonderful
Thank you
thing.
very much. Thanks.
Very, very relevant. And the questions that were asked, the responses were superb. Like it was thought-provoking at the same time and accepting and moving on the right path. Thanks, Kathir.
Thanks.
Really, thank you so much, sir.